No, that's other people that do that. I don't. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
We have the results of their IQ test right here. Tillerson scored a 120. It's above average, not genius, but still pretty good. And we have Donald Trump's results right here. It's a drawing of a big truck that says MAGA. And there's Trump right there saying Hong Kong.
The audience was already laughing when Stephen Colbert first mentioned Donald Trump's favorite subject, his own intelligence. But the laughter changed when Colbert slowed down, leaned over the desk, and reached for a folder that had been sitting quietly beside his notes all night. The room felt it immediately. This was no longer a regular joke. This was a setup with a target, a pause, and a promise that something uncomfortable was about to be placed under the lights. For years, Trump had built a public image around the idea that he was not just successful or famous, but intellectually superior to everyone around him. He called himself brilliant, a stable genius, and treated his connection to Wharton like proof that no argument against him could survive.
Cohen told Congress that Trump ordered him to threaten his high school to never release his grades. What could he possibly be hiding? We all assume he failed everything. Did they invent an easy class for him or something? Okay, Donald, welcome back to our special science course, Rock or Not a Rock.
Whenever critics challenged him, the response was almost always the same. Fake news, low IQ, loser, not smart. That was the pattern Colbert wanted the audience to notice. He played the clip first, Trump confidently talking about IQ tests, insisting that if there were a contest, he already knew who would win. The audience laughed because the boast sounded familiar. It was classic Trump, loud, certain, and delivered with absolute confidence. Then Colbert stopped smiling. He looked into the camera and said, "That is a big claim from a man whose academic records have always traveled with more security than nuclear code." The room erupted, but Colbert raised a hand and shifted the tone. He said the issue was not whether Trump had once been an average student. Millions of Americans were average students and still became hardworking, capable people. The issue, he explained, was that Trump had spent decades presenting himself as extraordinary while demanding nobody ask for proof.
Well, today, in an interview with Forbes, Trump defended his actions toward Tillerson, saying he was wasting his time. I'm not undermining. I think I'm actually strengthening authority. Yes, I'm not burning your house down. I'm lowering your heating bills.
Then Colbert opened the folder. The camera moved closer. The audience leaned in. The folder looked like a courtroom exhibit, but Colbert made clear it symbolized something bigger. He said the Trump brand depended on one strange bargain: accept the boast, never request evidence. That line landed hard because everyone understood what he meant. Trump did not simply mention Wharton. He used it as a weapon to dismiss experts, insult opponents, and present himself as the smartest person in every room. The school became part of the performance. The credential became armor. Colbert adjusted his glasses and lowered his voice. "The problem with calling yourself a genius every day," he said, "is that eventually somebody asks to see the homework." The audience exploded again. Trump's supporters later dismissed the segment as partisan comedy, but Colbert's point went deeper. He was not putting a teenager's report card on trial.
This morning, Donald Trump had an answer for that, too. I think it's fake news, but if he did that, I guess we'll have to compare IQ tests, and I can tell you who is going to win. Me too, because...
He was exposing a grown man's insecurity. Truly confident people do not constantly announce their intelligence. Secure leaders do not need applause every time they describe themselves as smart. Colbert replayed the clip. Trump again boasting about IQ. Trump again insisting he would win. The second time, the audience reacted differently. What first sounded funny now sounded revealing. Colbert let the silence sit before saying, "This is not the language of wisdom. This is the language of a man trying to outrun a question." That line changed the mood in the room, because the real issue was never about grades. The real issue was why the image mattered so much. Why did every disagreement become a contest of superiority? Why did every critic have to be stupid? Why did facts that challenged him become fake? For many older Americans watching, the moment carried weight beyond late-night comedy. They grew up respecting education, teachers, and expertise. They watched parents sacrifice so children could study. They expected presidents to surround themselves with knowledgeable people because leadership was supposed to include listening, not pretending to know everything already. Colbert's point was simple. A leader does not need to be the smartest person in the room, but he must be honest enough to listen to those who are. That was where the Wharton myth began to crack. Not because Colbert proved every rumor, not because one folder settled an entire life, but because the folder represented the thing Trump feared most: measurement. The possibility that the boast could be tested. The possibility that branding might not survive comparison with reality. Colbert slowly closed the folder. Then came the line that brought the audience to its feet. "Mr. Trump, Genius does not need a press release. It shows up in judgment. The applause hit like a wave. By then, the joke had become something larger. It was about the danger of confusing confidence with competence, noise with knowledge, and arrogance with leadership. Trump had spent years selling the country a story about a mind too brilliant to question. Colbert's segment reminded viewers that the people most desperate to be called geniuses are often the ones most afraid of honest examination. In the end, the crowd did not roar because of a grade. They roared because Colbert had punctured the performance. He took the biggest boast in Trump's brand and asked the simplest question in public life: where is the proof? And sometimes that is all it takes. Not shouting, not rage, not another insult. Just one folder, one pause, and one comedian willing to remind America that truth does not care how loudly a man calls himself brilliant.